It's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. After over a year of me watching Cartoon Network shows, I will finally talk about them. Endgame wishes it had this level of build-up. As a kid, while I liked Cartoon Network, it was easily my least favorite of the big three. After watching almost all of the shows I saw as a kid, plus all the ones I missed from the 2010s, I have confidence in saying that it is easily the best of the three. Like, you can argue Nick and Disney have higher highs, I wouldn't argue, but the consistent level of quality here is unmatched. I'll go more into that at the end of the video. This was planned as a top 30, but there's so many great shows here that I have to make it a top 35. And I don't know if I'm going to do that for other networks when I eventually get there. This will be a very casual video. So sit back and relax. I look through 30 years of animation. This will be a long video, so enough dilly-dallying. Here's my top 35 favorite Cartoon Network shows.
Good show! Jolly good show!
Total drama. So there was a lot of shows I could have picked for this first spot, but for a variety of reasons, I'm going with this. Specifically the first 3 seasons. Imported from the imaginary world of Canada, and knockoff of a show I don't even know if it's still on. In a way, this is one of the bigger story-based shows of the 2000s, but it's more focused on dark comedy and weird challenges. Everyone's got their favorite camper. For me, it was probably DJ. The big reason why this made the list is the memories I had of it while it was airing. I watched the first 3 seasons as they came out, and the fandom for it was surprisingly very welcoming. Of course, there's a ton of speculation on who would get eliminated every episode, and bro, I got super into it. There's also just a game for the first season, which had a new minigame for every single episode, which is sadly gone for a very long time. World Tour was probably my favorite. The songs were fun, and they took advantage of the traveling aspect. What puts it lower is the sequels after. Some were better than others, but they just don't have the magic of the first 3. Or they had sugar. But despite the best efforts of its sequels or its far inferior knockoffs, Total Drama will always stand as an important moment in my internet and cartoon experience. Uncle Grandpa.
Stewie loved Uncle Grandpa.
Frick you, this show is fun. Is it stupid and nonsensical? Of course, but like a bunch of classic cartoons are. It's freaking funny, and that's what matters. If this came out around the same time as Billy and Mandy or Ed and Eddie, everyone would love it. The show has a basic structure of Uncle Grandpa trying to help a kid, and the rest of the episode is just a bunch of tomfoolery. I like the tomfoolery. It's got a bunch of Looney Tunes-esque gags, and they're so good the show's creator went on to develop the newest Looney Tunes series. It also gave us Pizza Steve, the pinnacle of fiction. So yeah, I love this stupid frickin' show. I'm sorry. Summer Camp Island. From a show I talk about more than I should to a show I've never seen anyone talk about. Summer Camp Island is about a bunch of animals. Some with kind of strange character designs, like this dude's supposed to be a bat, but whatever. And they're all at, you guessed it, summer camp. The show has a very calming vibe and overall aesthetic that's just nice, you know? There's a bit of an ongoing story. In fact, the recent seasons all consist of arcs instead of standalone episodes. But while that's all cool, I just like the cozy feel it gives. While the show is currently an HBO Max exclusive, it started on Cartoon Network, and since they're owned by the same company, I'll allow it.
Island.
Class of 2000. So I'm about as good at singing as I am at talking. As in, no. But listening to music, now bro, I excel at that. And Class of 3000 is all about that, so that's pretty based. Starring Andre 3000 of the band Outkast, the band that did Hey Ya, the show is about a band class, but it plays very fast and loose with everything since, you know, cartoon. Every episode has a song written and usually performed by Andre, and every single one of them is a banger. If people cared about this show, I would make a ranking video of it. The one thing holding it back from being higher is that there's only 28 episodes, but I had to dig really deep to find them. Heck, I couldn't even find 2 of them. But hey, the show's fun either way. Star Wars Clone Wars. Okay, so 2 things. First, very obvious. The CGI show is not on this list. It's amazing, don't get me wrong, but because it ended on a network that isn't Cartoon Network or owned by Cartoon Network, I didn't want to include it. The other thing is, Palpatine is butt ugly. Final thing though is that if you like the CGI show at all, drop what you're doing besides watching this video, please. I spent like 3 minutes on this video, please, and watch this. This miniseries takes place before episodes 2 and 3, and it carries all the burdens of the prequel trilogy and just makes them all so much better. While it has a different look and crew than the newer series, heck, this show isn't even canon, it's easily better than any of the trilogy. It's also the debut of General Grievous, who I will stand by having one of the rawest designs of all time. He's also much better here. Instead of wimping out like in the film, bro is cold, calculated, and murders Jedi Shaggy as an introduction. That's how you know he's epic. If you're a Star Wars fan, this needs to be on your watch list. It's only around 2 hours full, so you have no excuse. Honor Shaggy, my lovelies. Mau Mau and the Heroes of Pure Heart. A show about a cute cat and his friends protecting a village. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let me just say, a frick ton. All the characters are rude and violent, but I know they'll say a lot about society, but I find it hilarious. The peak of it are the villains, who are arguably nicer than the heroes since they're all one big happy family of murderers, and I love it. What I don't love is the fact that it's been 3 years since the last episode. I don't know if we'll ever return to Pure Heart, but when we were there, it was very much an epic gamer moment. Sheep in the Big City. I genuinely can't believe this is making the list. For a show no one cares about, Sit BC is a generally really clever and funny show. It has the feel of a children's book, which makes sense since the creator also made the Pigeon books. It also has a very hostile relationship with the fourth wall, and it desperately needs a divorce. Since the characters question the fourth wall all the time. Not to mention the narrator, who is legitimately the best narrator in anything ever, since he desperately just does not want to be in the show. For a show that seems dead on arrival, like, holy frick, farm animal, but he's in a town now. We did it, Gary. We cracked the code. I may have broken up with my wife for 30 years. My kids have ripped out my intestines, but it's worth it. We finally made a show about mutton. The gates of heaven is mine. I mean, yeah, it's actually really fun. I'll never eat lamb chops again.
Sheep in the big city.
Johnny Bravo. The phrase, "you couldn't make this today," gets thrown around a lot. It's been said about Jonathan Bravo quite a bit. In actuality, though, this show actually aged quite well. Unlike, say, Pepe Le Pew, Johnny's always called out on his actions, and it usually involves him getting absolutely ratioed as well. Not to mention a lot of the episodes don't involve sexual harassment, sorry to disappoint, but instead has Johnny doing, well, literally anything. Johnny's such a great character that he fits in pretty much any situation. In space, on a fishing boat, I can go to the bathroom and just see him there, it's just normal.
Hey there, lady.
It started the careers of notable people in the industry too, like Butch Hartman and Seth MacFarlane. Wait, there's supposed to be good things about the show. Carl's voice is basically the same as SpongeBob, and makes me feel very uncomfortable. Also, Johnny is objectively the best dancer in animation.
Yeah, whatever.
Symbolic Titan. CN is well known for leaving their shows as they go out for milk and never return, and none got the axe worse than Symbolic Titan. A great, beautifully animated action series that brings the fluidness of anime with the quirky humor of, well, Cartoon Network. It's also one of the many starts of the story-based trend cartoons became in the 2010s. Octus is the best character. He's a dork, but a nice dork. Also, there's a jock voiced by Patrick Starr, and they have this weird relationship with each other, and it's just great. Sadly, as I said before, the show was swept under the rug quite quickly, leaving on not really a cliffhanger. The story never even really got to pay off fully. I think a big reason why is because around this time, the show's creator, Gendy Tartakovsky, was leaving for Sony, so they just didn't really care about it. With Gendy back though, what's stopping the show from maybe coming back as well? Maybe one day it'll be known as more than just that one show with a twerking scene. Generator Rex. I remember when this was coming out, CN marketed the frick out of it. Commercials, toys, like 50 characters in this one Flash game. They're really placing all their eggs in a basket. Likely because it was from the same studio as Ben 10. Unlike the plague set upon humanity, infecting them with nanites that causes mutations except for our lead, who has amnesia and complete control over his nanites. How's that for a recap? It never caught on. This is the closest to perfect you can get for a show. It's obviously not my favorite, but when it comes to looking at every part, yeah, it's top tier all around. Funny, dramatic, great characters and animation. The theme song is raw. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It didn't start a revolution, but we still had a lot of fun tonight. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. If you took SpongeBob, Courage, and your average creepypasta and threw into the correct blender with some rotten Halloween candy, you wouldn't even get a fraction of Flapjack's insanity. Yes, it's frick beyond belief. The animation is one I have trouble putting into words. Basically everyone besides Flapjack and Bubby will 100% stab you in the back and sell your organs to the black market. But somehow, it makes for an extremely unique experience you'll never find anywhere else, with moments I laugh and scream at almost every episode, sometimes at the same time. I could go on, but a friend asked me to make a video on it, and I do need a Halloween special, so if you want more Miss Avengers, wait until then. Oh my god, Aunt Willie is literally a giant one-eyed Willie. Thundercats 2011. Hey, do you do nothing original anymore? I know it's a really hot take. I'm gonna post it on Twitter and get 1 million retweets and followers because it's such a unique take that no one's said for. I'm very unique and original. Do you like me now, mother? But yeah, there's a lot of remakes in 2010s. And for every DuckTales and She-Ra, there's 1 million Teen Titans Go or Powerpuff Girls. But around the start of the decade, we had a show that showed not all remakes had to suck. Another very anime-inspired series, Thundercats was what the original wished it was. Amazing battle scenes, memorable characters, compelling story that doesn't sacrifice comedy, an amazing villain voiced by Travis freaking Touchdown. Bro, they made Snarf not make me want to murder every single cat in a 7-mile radius. How do you do that? Really, overall, Thundercats proves not every reboot has to be Thundercats. Dexters Lab, the one that started it all, kinda. Combination of 3 segments, Dexter, Dial for Monkey, and Just His Friends. All 3 of these segments I thought were very epic, by the way. It's hard to describe Dexter without just going over individual episodes. So for now, I'll just say the show is just a wacky, fun time full of imagination while still having a lot of adult humor that went far over my head as an evolved fetus. Also, Mandy is the best character in the show, and I was insane putting him in C tier on my villain tier list. All the Dexter's better than Jimmy Neutron, fight me. Mega's XLR. Okay, I take back what I said about Symbolic Titan being a show Cartoon Network left out and abandoned when they went to get milk. Clearly Megas deserves that title. A show so abandoned that you can find all of it on YouTube. It's written off for tax reasons. They literally legally cannot air the show anymore, which sucks because bro, this is the peak. Anime parodies are everywhere nowadays, but all the way back to 2004, we got this. If Evangelion is a deconstruction of mecha tropes, this is its funeral. No stone is unturned when it comes to mocking anime tropes at the time, wrapped with 2 completely incompetent yet absolutely hilarious main characters. If you just want some dumb fun with giant robots, which I know you do because come on, I dig giant robots, you dig giant robots, we all dig giant robots, there's no better place than Mega's XLR.
Nice.
Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Scooby-Doo's been on for over 50 years. They've had their ups and their Simon Cowells, but I think most of us can agree Mystery Inc. is one of the highest of its run. I think it's a bit overrated if I'm being honest, but I can't take its achievements away from it. It was somehow able to keep playing the Scooby-Doo formula straight, while also having this overarching story of the previous mystery gang and an eldritch being making the entire town act strange. There's some bits that feel very 2010, but besides that, anyone, Scooby fan or not, can enjoy the new twist along with the throwbacks to old Scoob. The main villain is a parrot and he's the best character. How is he scary? I could break his neck by breathing too hard. Well, I think it's a bit overrated. When it comes to if it's a great show, well, there's no Mystery Incorporated. The Secret Saturdays. This is a show I was obsessed with as a kid. I had a big obsession with cryptids, which I don't think I had until this show. The show takes a lot of influence from older action series like Johnny Quest, but this can be enjoyed without seeing that. It focuses on the family of the Saturdays, who hunt down and protect cryptids from being discovered. In their quest, they fight Vivi Argost, who's one of the raddest villains ever, and I've committed a federal crime putting him in only B tier in an old video. The first season is more so focused on getting to know these characters and the world, while the second is about dealing with something that happens in just the overall story. Being vague because despite how hard say I marketed this show is pretty much dead and buried, as hidden as humanity as cryptids it's based on. The truth is out there, friends. Go and expose it. T-pose in the government. Codename Kids Next Door. You gotta admire the creativity of K&D. Every single episode and weapon they use is some sort of clever acronym. Every villain is the personification of some sort of a childhood struggle. The world is surprisingly developed for a more jokey show like this. The proportion of the kids may be freaky, but that's minor. The best part of the show is Father, who is always hilarious every time he talks.
Wanna watch a cartoon on the television?
It may physically hurt watching the show now, knowing my childhood has expired, and I'll become some boring old adult who will probably get obsessed with like Dexter or something and try to murder even more children than usual. But K&D is still a fun time to remember the good old days before everything was sad. We Bear Bears. There isn't much to say here. We Bear Bears is just simply a fun series about bears. I may find the creatures unbearable usually, but hey, they're fun here. Yeah, there's not much really to say here besides that. Also, the theme song is the best in CN history, don't at me.
We'll be there.
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. You know what's fun? Just absolutely freaking up my mind was just the most messed up thing as a child. And it was awesome! Disgusting monsters, a whole bunch of death. Mandy is a better take on overpowered nihilist than Rick. Fredburger. It's the type of show that both loves that it's animated and loves that it's on Cartoon Network. Also, one of its films, Big Buggy Adventure, is legitimately one of the best films based on a show, factually. The only problem with it is the childhood trauma and mental scarring it left for me. But compared to all the fun that I had with it, that's minor. Okay, KO, let's be heroes. Game references in modern media can be super cringy if not done right. Same with anime. Okay, KO though is able to take both of those, along with 80s and 90s cartoons, literally make references the baseline for the show and have it somehow still work. It's somehow able to strike the perfect balance of being just serious enough for you to be interested, but just silly enough so you can still roll with everything. KO is such an infectious presence with his overwhelming optimism and his overall vibe, and that extends to everyone in the cast. Carol is best mom, and that is a fact. It's a huge shame they never really made like a fighting game based on it. It would have been perfect. Really, it's just a fun time for all ages, especially if you're 6 or 11, which is canonically KO's age. That opens up so many questions, and I'm too lazy to answer any of them. Ben 10. Okay, so 2 little quick notes here. First, this is going to be based off the first 4 series. This is not based off the reboot because I have not seen that, and because the original 4 are based on their own separate timeline compared to the reboot. The second one is, I have an interesting relationship with this series. This is my first instance of hating something just because it's popular. Didn't even give it a chance. That is until I stumbled upon some videos on it by the Ink Tank, which really made me interested in the series. And I watched through the entire thing, and I regret not getting into the series earlier for so many reasons. All of the reasons, by the way, are this. All the aliens are so varied. Ben is such a great lead no matter what version he is. Gwen, Max, Kevin, and Rook are all great side characters. Thundercats made me scared of squids, which is why I shattered every mirror in my household. And as you expect, all the action scenes are extremely well animated and take advantage of everything you can do with such a varied power set. My one big problem here is that there's more retcons here than every other piece of fiction ever. That and a lot of general inconsistencies that are hard to ignore at some points. But that doesn't make the series any less great. Also, if you're curious, my 3 favorite aliens are Big Chill, Chameleon, and Ghost Drake. Bye! The Amazing World of Gumball. So, maybe the British aren't a complete waste. Gumball is one of those shows that's surprisingly far more popular than I would expect, but that's not a slam. It clearly started core with everyone somehow. It's not the first show to use mixed media or break the fourth wall, but it perfected both. People always talk about the same 2 episodes of this, but I'd like to highlight specifically episodes with Rob. They bring in this villain out of nowhere and they add a light story to the series, and like, it's really well done, and Rob is generally tragic, funny, and threatening at the same time. Also, I've learned that the voice of Miss Simeon is also in Xenoblade 2. I think you should all just know that. Ed, Edd, and Eddy, or as I like to call it, E3. It's interesting that I've never seen anyone dislike this series. It's just universally accepted that it's great. While nostalgia may be a factor, I think the main thing is, well, because it's great. Despite only having one real location and keeping consistent 13 characters, playing Couch Frick You, which I hate like 5 of them, the show is always consistently entertaining, which says a lot considering it's the longest running CN show as of now. Ed could have 100% show fiction, just so we're clear. Also, Plank is alive, that's a fact. Craig of the Creek. Of all the shows on this list, Craig is the one that gives me the strongest feeling of nostalgia, which is saying a lot since it came out in 2018. I am somehow an adult. If you want a show that just embraces childhood, both the normal stuff and the more fantastical stuff, this is for you. Just a comforting show. You watch it and you feel everything is right. Then the show stops and you realize that the world is falling apart and no one watches your stupid YouTube channel talking about cartoons despite you being in your 20s and I'm projecting a bit. So yeah, great show, and I'm glad it's getting more attention. Chowder. Chowder is one of those shows that people don't seem to care about until it was considered nostalgic, but I always loved it. The weird textures on the characters, the variety of unique foods they came up with, and of course, the brutal and graphic murder of the fourth wall, where they cut it up and mail it to its family. Chowder is a wonderful little gremlin child who is both super nice yet also, well, a child. Snizzle's gimmick of only saying one thing is always hilarious and more should do it. These recaps are slowly becoming more and more hard to write because I'm just saying it's great over and over again. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Definitely a controversial take putting this so high, so I will of course defend this pick by saying I'm going to make an entire video on this show soon, and I'll explain why I like it there. Also, Blue did nothing wrong. Teen Titans. So the internet would tell you this is the darkest show of all time, mostly despite Teen Titans Go being so lighthearted. That isn't the exact case. The show can be extremely comedic when it wants to be, but I think that's something that makes it so great, because it can also be extremely dark. You can have an episode about Raven being mentally tortured and being shown a vision of the apocalypse caused by her, and a couple episodes later, there's a talking tofu voiced by Carl Weezer. One episode can have Starfire go to a dark future where all of her friends are either insane or depressed, and another can have someone try to make everyone British. Wait, that one's dark too. I think both sides of this coin work though, because the 5 Titans are just such fleshed out and great characters. Everyone has their favorite. I made it very clear mine is Starfire, but you can't go wrong with any of them. So, is the show worth all the hype? I mean, yes, it's number 9, use your brain. Samurai Jack. I made it clear that I like things that are dumb, stupid, insane, like me. But sometimes you just want a show that's not that. And for a show like that, we gotta go back. Samurai Jack makes a lot out of little. A lot of episodes are mostly silent with a focus on visual storytelling, or focusing on the perspective of characters other than Jack. Could be for lore or just because it's fun, but either way, it makes for a truly one-of-a-kind experience. Jack is a character who's just hard not to love. He's serious, but so unbelievably kind, and Aku is a character who's hard not to love to hate. He's done so much awful stuff, but he's just so much fun that you almost want to root for him. Season 5 is definitely divisive, but I still enjoyed it. It takes a lot to make a kid's show mature while keeping it totally consistent, but I managed to pull it off, despite some missteps. I have complete faith in saying that Samurai Jack is in fact a show. The Powerpuff Girls. Arguably the most iconic show CNN has made, it's the Powerpuff Girls. What else can I say? This is one of the first cartoons strongly inspired by anime, but instead of having an anime-like art style, it instead has these action scenes which are much more intense than I remembered. Well, that's a good thing. I have to satiate my bloodlust somehow. While the girls are the main characters, my favorite part of this series are the secondary cast and villains. And I like that there's a lot of episodes focused on them. My favorite villain is Mojo, but I'll always have a soft spot for Fuzzy. Everything is so zippy and fun and well done and nice and good, and the girls are definitely not the best choice for heroes, but also their talent and problems in my life, so that's fair. I made it through this entire season without mentioning the reboot. Are you proud of me? Adventure Time. Considering how often I talk about this show, you're probably surprised that it doesn't even crack the top 5. And that really speaks for the quality of what's above it. Adventure Time basically revived animation. While it's nowhere near as popular as it once was, that's something you can never take away from it. Even after my video on it, it's still a show I can't stop thinking about. From its characters to its quirky humor, to the clever world building that's both deeper and darker than you'd expect, to the strong theme of growing up that I didn't even pick up on until thinking back on it. Not much else to say that I didn't already say on the Lemon Grab video. I'm glad to have finally seen it, I'm glad it's still continuing, and I'll be glad to revisit this distant land once more for some more adventures. Steven Universe. Oh boy! I'm not making any friends with this one. Ironic considering the series. I might make a video on this show too, but for now, Steven Universe may not be perfect, or even close to it, but the show really struck a chord with me. It didn't start cartoons tackling serious subjects, obviously, but it's one that did it subtly for the most part. All wrapped in a show with lovable characters, great songs, and animation that, well, definitely wonky, but when it's great, my god, is it great. Yes, it's a show you can nitpick to death if you want to. Some problems people have I disagree with, but again, that's potentially for a different video. Its expansion, Future, is also great. I'm factoring it in here too since it's just an epilogue. Even darker than the original, but I feel like it addresses a lot of the criticism the original got, plus pretty much perfectly wrapping up the story. The gem may be cracked, but it shines brightly nonetheless. Also paired out as the best character in Cartoon Network history, and that is not up to debate. Regular show. Okay guys, I'm just gonna be honest. This show is no right to be as good as it is. The sudden twist at the end should become stale. They never do, you're constantly funny and always unexpected. These characters should be one note. They aren't. For pure comedy, these are surprisingly fleshed out characters. I'm honestly glad I watched this for the first time when I was in my 20s. Seeing 2 losers around my age struggle with trying to find a purpose while working a job they hate? Yeah, I get that. Without spoiling it, the ending is unironically the greatest finale to any show I've ever seen. I knew about it going in, and I still managed to cry over the freaking stupid raccoon and Gumball machine show. How do you do that? This is another show I may end up making a video on. There's a lot to talk about. It's quite a jolly good show. You know who else likes it? My Uncle John. He's a mechanic. Johnny Tett.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog Show!
This was my biggest surprise watching through these shows. So big I made an entire review of it. So, watch that. Or else he'll appear in your dreams. Over the Garden Wall. So I'm gonna make this entry a bit vague, because I know some people haven't seen the show. You know who you are. This is basically a perfect miniseries. In only 10 short episodes, we have the perfect mix of what is actually really nice and soothing autumn vibes, and the other half is pure and utter horror, unmatched by anything else on the network, Courage included. I first saw it in 2020, then rewatched it the next Halloween, and it was even better. If you haven't seen it, you have no excuse. The whole series can be watched in 2 hours, but I recommend watching it around the time of Halloween to get more into the feel. Whether it's a fun time with skeleton people, or a not so fun time with this fricker, you can find it and so much more if you look over the garden wall. So it was a tough call between this and number 1, but at the end of the day, Ward and Greg just couldn't make that journey way back home. Wow, that star! Before I say what beats it though, here were some very quick honorable mentions. Money Magistars. First couple episodes are paced way too quickly, but if you stick with it, it gets pretty good. Victor and Valentino. Basically, what if Gravity Falls took place in Mexico? It's fun. Really, the highlights are when the show gets really dark, like, why is this allowed? I don't like this, but the show is fun enough. Elliot from Earth. The newest series as of now, from the same crew as Gumball. It's cute, but the first season mostly is set up for season 2 that doesn't seem like it'll ever come. Looney Tunes show. Bugs and Daffy are gay! And this is a fun take on Looney Tunes. I'm still bitter that Marvin was done so dirty here though. Life and Times Juniper Lee. It's just a fun adventure comedy, not much else to say. Robot Jones. I like the art style a lot, and it's just got a really fun vibe as well. Possibly number 36? Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi. A strange cartoon based on a J-pop band, but for something like this, it's pretty fun. Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel. These are just Ren and Stimpy knockoffs, but really good Ren and Stimpy knockoffs. I slightly prefer Weasel just because I like that character a bit more, but both are pretty fun if you just want something weird. And finally, Clarence. Awful creator aside, it's another pretty great slice of life show, but when it comes to more relaxing CN shows, I prefer some Camp Bears. Oh, and also I remember liking Eva Con Carne and Time Squad as a kid, but I don't really have enough time to revisit them for this. Maybe they're the greatest shows ever, but for now, let's finally move on to number 1.
Pretend.
It's finally time. Over a year of watching and rewatching cartoons, making several videos based on this network, we finally get to the reveal of my favorite show on the network. And of course, it's a show that only had half of its run on the channel. But that was anticlimactic. Infinity Train is another show that my friends have constantly heard me rave on about how great it is, but have never actually watched because they are cowards! I didn't know what to expect when I boarded this train, but, well, again vague for spoilers. Every book focuses on a different person and their problems they have to overcome. Every season has twists and turns, some really funny moments, and some moments where I have to go to Walmart to buy new eyes because I literally cry them out. My favorite book is by far book 2. The interactions between the main characters are always engaging, and the themes hit closer to me more than any of the others. Also Toad Car. I love Toad Car. I want to spend all my life in Toad Car. Now I should give a bit of a warning. This show can get a little too real at points. Only watch it if you're in the right mindset. Personally, this show actually helped me a lot through a lot of things that I was going through. Not everyone will feel the same, so just, be wary before you watch it. Especially for book 3. The other books have a lot of light moments, but book 3 is just depression, the cartoon. There was a 5th book in the works, but for various reasons it was cancelled, which is in fact sadder than anything in the show itself. But still, I enjoyed every stop on this train ride, and I would gladly take another trip on this train in the future to revisit some old memories, as it is easily my favorite show on this amazing network. So, that was my year-long watch-through of children's shows. What did I learn from this? Well, I think CN's biggest strength is its variety. You can get something light, dark, for kids, for teens, for adults, funny, deep, action-packed, down-to-earth, simple, complex, all of the above, or none of the above. You don't know what you're going to get, but it's almost a guarantee that it'll be good, for the most part. This was quite an undertaking, but I loved every second of it. I've grown such an appreciation for this network, which, as I said above, I wasn't super into. I was more into Disney and Nick. But while I love them as well, their shows feel very similar to others in their roster. With a few exceptions, when you're watching a Nick or Disney show, you know what to expect. You don't know what you're getting when you flip over to Cartoon Network, except for the fact that it will almost always be quality. And that's why, 30 years later, it is still the best place for cartoons. I am now going to take a nap for 3 months. Or I'll immediately start working on the Disney Channel show watch through. Life is no rest for the stripe.
If you've been paying attention, it's because you're a nerd with nothing better to do.